Episode 11, Character Mastery versus System Mastery. Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us as we explore the fighting game genre. Oftentimes we see fighting games divided according to their mechanics, like 2D and 3D, ground movement and air movement, having chains of normals or not, etc. However, there is another important way you can categorize different games, based on two factors that shape how the game is played: the characters and the universal system mechanics. These are not mutually exclusive, but in some games the character aspect is more prominent, and in others it's the system aspect. Games like Guilty Gear and BlazBlue revolve mostly around character mastery, whereas games like King of Fighters, Melty and Arcana are mostly about system mastery. In the former group, each character feels very unique to control, while in the latter group, the universal system is the main source of interest, with the characters providing different flavors, unique ways to experience these universal mechanics. For example, the experience of playing Melty is mostly shaped by attributes which the whole cast has access to. Fast and complex aerial movement options, playing with and around the game's parry, and applying deadly offensive pressure via chain-canceling rules. On top of this strong foundation, you sprinkle a bit of character individuality, but the main thing you master as you improve is the system itself. Both these styles have unique benefits and shortcomings. In a character mastery game like Guilty Gear, different characters provide very different experiences, and every matchup feels like a whole new game to explore and master, which adds a lot to the enjoyment. Even if you have a small scene, exploring every one of the available matchups can make the game feel rewarding for years. On the other hand, the uniqueness of the characters and matchups also makes the game very unforgiving in certain situations. You can play one matchup at a very high level and still be defeated easily when playing against a different character. Because each distinct matchup is so different from every other, experience in one does not translate that well to success in another. This can be really frustrating in a tournament setting. In such a game, it's also pretty hard to pick up a new character. Your prior experience and muscle memory matter less. Chain routes are vastly different, and each button serves a different role. You may encounter the same situations you've encountered before, but now you need to think about them in a completely different way, and find new solutions with your new character. Games with a prominent universal system have the opposite qualities. The characters are a bit more similar to each other, and the matchups are a bit more similar to each other. While different matchups won't exactly feel like whole new worlds to explore, this can be a good thing. In system mastery games, it's easier to do well against unfamiliar characters in tournament settings, and it's easier to learn additional characters using previous experience. This also makes the games, in principle, much more friendly to new players. Because you master the system rather than a specific character and matchup, your improvement leads to overall better performance against every possible matchup. It's also much easier to explore the cast and find the character you like more, and quickly catch up. Which type of game is overall better? That's purely a matter of personal preference, but you can certainly enjoy both types of games for the unique benefits they each offer. Now let's get into the murky territory. Do 3D fighting games like Tekken, Virtua Fighter, Soul Calibur, and Dead or Alive revolve around character mastery or system mastery? It's not so cut and dry. The nature of these games creates a necessity to overcome a big wall of defensive knowledge right at the start. If you don't know the opposing character's moves and how to defend against them, you can easily lose before ever getting to play the actual game. Therefore, being ready for tournaments in these games can be hard. But once you bypass the initial wall of defensive knowledge, and finally get to play a real match, you'll find that many characters are simply unique mixtures of the same general tools. It's also relatively easy to improve with a new character once you got to a high level with the first one, because you understand how to play the system well. So overall, they are system mastery games. What about Street Fighter, and games that are similar to Street Fighter? This may be even more confusing. Street Fighter doesn't have a complex movement system like Melty or Arcana, And most Street Fighter titles don't have a dominant universal mechanic like parry in Street Fighter 3, or the Alpha game's custom combos. This gives room for individual character traits to shine. That said, the limited movement can be viewed as a dominant system feature in itself. You can't run, you can't block while in the air, and you have very limited ways to control your movement in the air, if at all. The characters need to be designed to work under these conditions, so you tend to see many different flavors of the same concepts. And since the Shoto archetype is the easiest to design and tweak in such a system, while maintaining a high level of depth and nuance, you tend to see plenty of Shoto clones, or even other characters that still share many of the same features, like Guile and Rose. Characters like Dalsim and Zangief may feel unique and different from each other, but not so much when you think of the larger scope. Street Fighter 4 added characters like Crimson Viper and El Fuerte, who offered high mobility and had a lot of control over their aerial movements, which in turn made their aerial approaches safer to use. Many people complained that the matchups against these characters feel like you are not playing a game of Street Fighter. So is Street Fighter a game that leans more towards utilizing the tools of individual characters, or more towards general Street Fighter skill? Let us know what you think in the comments. In the next episode, we'll talk about team tournaments, and how they can be used as an effective tool to get more players into and grow the community. Until then, take some time to think about what we presented, and if you liked this video, make sure to subscribe for more episodes. 何が出るかな